Good morning. Good morning. My name is David Theus, and welcome to another episode of the Saturday Morning Coaching Call, brought to you by the Small Business Patriot. Ta-da! Episode number 17 today, and I am joined by, she's back in the saddle, my co-host and friend, Peggy Lynch with 21K Promotions out of St. Augustine, Florida, located in St. Johns County, Florida. If you don't know where that is, we're up in the northeast part of the state, a beautiful part of the state as far as I'm concerned. Florida as a whole is a great state, but we seem to think that this end of the state's pretty cool. Again, Peggy Lynch with 21K Promotions. Good morning, Peggy. How are you?
Good. Good morning, David, and everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. And without getting too personal, you're in the new is it digs? New digs? You're in the new place?
In the new digs, and I'm actually quite settled already.
Good for you. Well, you look great today, and I like your backdrop, and all things are firing on all cylinders. Let me I want to incorporate a little bit extra information for those that might be listening here on YouTube, or excuse me, watching us on YouTube. And if you're listening on Spotify or wherever you catch your podcast, please like and follow us and share with a friend. And of course, if you're on YouTube tuning in, please like, follow, share, thumbs up, and subscribe. There's a lot of asks going on, so we need you to do that. In case you didn't know, we got to grow this thing. And so in order to do that, we need some subscribers. And if you find our information helpful, it's not just about me and Peggy, please share this with a friend or a coworker or a fellow small business owner in your community that you may be able to help them. Okay, I do want to put a plug in for, I hate to say it's a new company, but we've been doing this scenario here in Clay County for 4.5 years, Peggy. You know that Promote Clay has been around for 4.5 years.
I remember the first one.
Yeah. So we are taking what we've learned in Clay County and expanding it to what we call Northeast Florida, under the branding of Northeast Florida Business Alliance. And our mission basically is to help you grow your business by demonstrating empathy, developing trust, and fostering friendships with one another. And of course, we're serving our members in Clay, Duval, and St. Johns counties. And so it's pretty exciting times. We're taking what we've learned. I'm a bit of a nationalist, for lack of a better word. I put a fence around Clay County, the boundaries of Clay County, and I really wanted to develop our relationships here in Clay. And what we've discovered is this is exciting times that we as small business owners need to gather, and we need to join forces with one another to combat our regime that is not friendly to small business owners. And so in order to do that, we're going to take this successful story and expand to neighboring counties that are contiguous on the borders with Clay County. So Duval County to our north, that's where Jacksonville, most people know about that, is located. We'll probably be on the central west side of Jacksonville. And then St. Johns County to our east, and that's where towns like St. Augustine, the unincorporated St. John's is located, and even Ponte Vedra Beach. So it's another beautiful part of our state, a beautiful part of our region. And again, that's called Northeast Florida Business Alliance. And you can find us over at LinkedIn. We have a group and a page. Please follow us over there and stay in touch, because we got some stuff coming up. June 1, we will be fully launched. Okay. That's our marketing, housekeeping out of the way. And we're going to bring that back up in a little bit as far as marketing. But for those of you joining us for the first time, Peggy comes up, not always, but Peggy, in her business that she's doing, she runs throughout the week and discovers maybe an issue she'd like to talk about, or maybe her customers have shared with her, or someone's given her some feedback, and she brings that element to the table for Saturday mornings. And by the way, we are in real time. Where'd my clock go? We start this thing at 9 o'clock. So in real time, it is 9:13 as we speak on Saturday morning. So we're giving up, Peggy and I are both giving up time to do this on a Saturday morning. And we have other things to do, but we like doing this. All right, so let's get started. So do us a favor, Peggy, introduce yourself. Tell us about 21K Promotions, what it is you do, and maybe some of the area that you've covered. I know I've told everybody you're in St. Augustine and St. Johns County, but give us a little information about Peggy Lynch.
Okay. 21K promotions. We work with branding products to help businesses, organizations, clubs, churches, whatever, get their message, their name out in front of potential clients and so forth. And what we do is provide almost any one of hundreds of thousands of products with your name and logo and message on there. But we also do very customized items. I've done a few of those lately that are pretty exciting. So they're one of a kind, created specifically for that client. So as far as my region, my territory, I am based in St. Augustine, Florida, although I'm now working with clients in 7 states, total of 7 states, in Midwest and South.
Wow. And that's all afforded to us by the wonders of technology. The idea that you can have a phone conversation or a Zoom call conversation and an email and a text and all kinds of good things, and communicate with our folks, and you can cross state lines, right? That's awesome. Okay. Well, what do you have up your sleeve today that you want to share and let's discuss? And I've got kind of a subject matter. I think it's going to dovetail, but tell us about what you're thinking about first.
Okay. And communication is one of my favorite words. So within that, email, messenger, text, and Snapchat. So I receive communications from clients and colleagues and friends via any one of these modes. And I'm curious to know why there are so many. I pretty much use email and a text if it's urgent. That's it. But so I'm not sure why there are so many available and why you would choose one over the other.
Yeah, this is a topic that comes up to me. Teaching old dogs new tricks is what it falls under as far as my category.
Yep.
And not necessarily new tricks. Or I saw a meme. I guess it's a meme. Anytime someone produces something on my Twitter feed this morning, we're having a shortage of baby formula.
Right.
You heard about that, right?
Yes.
Well, apparently, your mother and my mother and your grandmother and my grandmother didn't go to the store and buy powdered baby formula. If they weren't nursing, if we weren't nursing, they had a solution for this baby formula. And it was a household remedy that was made up of things that you could find in the grocery store. And so this person, I don't want to get into details. It's evaporated milk and K-Rose syrup and baby vitamins and water. And lo and behold, it makes baby formula that you can make up right there in your kitchen and not have to go to the store for. So I think it's time that maybe some of our old dogs that we sometimes discount for, that's old school, we're new and improved now. It's about convenience, and so if I can go to the shelf at the Publix or Winn-Dixie or wherever I shop and just pull off and we're out of the baby age group, my wife and I, but we've got grandchildren now. And I asked her just the other day, I said, do we have any of our grandkids still on the bottle? And she's like, no, everyone's eating solid food. But how easy it is to just grab the container and come home and mix it with the water, shake up here kid, have the food. Well, I'm learning in my weight loss journey that I've experienced that it takes time to prep things. And if you're going to do it right and do something correct and do something that's going to have results, lasting results, sometimes you got to put a little effort in. And the easiest pull off the shelf sometimes is not the greatest solution. It's convenient. It's time sensitive and convenient, but a little sweat equity, getting involved and rolling up your sleeves and getting things done may be a solution. And here we are, no baby formula. What are these folks going to do? I don't want to go back to cloth diapers. I'll go as far as that. But but we had a cleaning service back then that did that. God bless those people. All right. Anyway, a little bit of a sidebar. So I think that little sidebar dovetails into the convenience factor that I'm talking about, and how old dogs learning new tricks and the new dogs are teaching us new tricks. And so we talked in a previous episode about some tools that we used in the office. How I talked about, I think it was on the conversation we had about mailing list or buying a list, and and how I used to use a fax machine on some of my advertising days to stand over the fax machine before deadline. Well, the fax machine doesn't exist anymore. And so then it went to email marketing, of course, and then it went to texting, and here we are. So technology is at the forefront of leading this charge. And we generationally, I'm 58 years old, you're 59, we'll say.
Okay, you can say that.
I know we're not supposed to ask, so I'll just give you the benefit of the doubt. You're 59, and so and you look great, by the way. I've had 3 cups of coffee. So generationally, we tend to gravitate to the place that we find this technology. And so you and I were heavily involved in emails when emails came out. And quite frankly, I've got several email accounts, and it's almost the last thing I want to play in. It's almost I just hate them because everyone has bombed my email account. I've got kind of one email account that I use that I really protect, and I only want it to go to certain people. And I spend a lot of time calling out garbage in there and unsubscribing to stuff. Of course, I promote an email newsletter, so no one should unsubscribe to that. But so there's email. The next thing would be text. I can't stand texting, but I know there's a generation ahead of me or behind, where would they be? The younger folks who enjoy the texting. And I think it's interesting. Let's go back a couple years when we all had the digital pager. And for those of us that can remember, I think we had codes like, remember if you got a page and it said 911, that meant it was an emergency, right? Whoever paged you should, I think you could put in a code, couldn't you? Couldn't you type in? Seems like I remember.
I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Well, you'd get the guy's phone number, but maybe they would put a comma 911, which meant call me back as soon as possible. It wasn't like they were going to the hospital, but they needed to talk to you. And so
like right now,
yeah, we developed some sort of code system that happened within 12 characters, I think it was, whatever it was on that screen. And that was probably early texting, and so we just didn't have the format. We didn't have the technology to use at the time, but we were already starting to think in that time frame, in that space. So I've adopted more texting. The problem with texting for me, though, is it's really not beneficial to do it while driving, as a public service information or announcement. Please don't do that. I see people all the time driving and texting, and it's a nightmare. Someone's going to get killed. But again, it's that convenience factor. You can't put the phone down long enough to. I pull off the side of the road oftentimes. I'll pull off into a parking lot and then return text or just call the guy back. All right, so I'm getting kind of in the weeds here like normal. I guess it's generational. That's my take, that each person that we're dealing with is going to come to the table with their comfort wheelhouse and where they dwell. Now, I do one thing with the texting that comes from my financial services day. We spend a lot of time in our office and our industry doing what we call training our customers. If you want to be productive and you want to be profitable, there's a certain path that you have to follow. And if you get too far into the weeds, you're wasting your time and ultimately your client's time. And so the topics like, where will we meet? Will I be one of those agents or those advisors that will just drop everything? And if you need me, I'll go wherever you want me to go. That's good in principle. And it's great for customer service, but it's not great for maximizing your return on your time. And it's not selfish that I'm speaking. It's about the customer too, that we want to give that customer the best opportunity to get the biggest bang from our expertise. And so we talk all the time about training our customers to come into the office. Now, that may be as antiquated as, dinosaurs roaming the earth. But the reality is, if I get in my car at a moment's notice, hey, come see me, I need to talk to you, and I got to drive 30 minutes to get somewhere, and then show up and wait on the person, and then do my thing, and 30 minutes back in the car to get back to my office, there's an hour that's evaporated from my day that I can't get anything done. And so I would rather slam my appointments for on the hour, meaning if I have at 11 o'clock, it's going to go to 12:30, and I book another one for 1, so I can have time in between meetings to prepare, close one meeting, prepare for another one, and boom, 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 hit these meetings in the office. So it speaks to time efficiency and best use of time for both you, the professional, and the client. The texting part, when someone texts me, and now I guess Messenger, you said email, Messenger, text, and Snapchat. Messenger is the thing that's on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I get into that conversation with someone. There's a gal that communicates me with via Messenger all the time. And if I don't look at it quick enough, or, take the moment to see what it is, I don't know if it's in Messenger or if it's a text. I don't see the top of the feed. I don't pay attention to it. And so I'm used to seeing a text come in and pushing the phone toggle and calling them. So I've called her numerous times vis-a-vis Facebook, that where you can hit the message button on Facebook, hit the phone toggle, and it drives it into a phone call via Facebook. So now I'm talking to her via Facebook, and I'm like, oh crap, I didn't want to do that. That's a whole nother wheelhouse I don't want to get into. So what I'm doing, and the training of my customer, is I will text back and say, listen, can we talk on the phone? Because my thumbs don't work. I have old thumbs and they just don't work that well. And there's always something lost in translation via text.
Oh, yeah.
I don't, I mean, it just happens. You can't see my facial cue. You can't hear my voice change. What's that word? But you can't pick up those things that you could either visually or audibly over the phone. And so I want every opportunity to relay the information that's needed in a timely fashion and accurate. That's really most important, and accurate. Now, I want to say one more thing, and then I'm doing what Dave does all the time. We go around the whole darn corner to get to the point. In the financial services business, I'm not going to tell you his name, but my principal was the king of compliance. And if you've never worked in an industry that's heavily compliant, meaning regulated by the federal government, and you being accountable to things, I hated it when I first started, because I'm a independent business owner, fly by the seat of my pants. I move quickly and make decisions quickly. But in that industry, you must be compliant, or you will be grounded. You'll be in trouble, fined, or in jail. And so I never did anything wrong. I was never worried about breaking the law or doing something that wasn't copacetic. But it was just that thing of Big Brother over my shoulder, knowing that I had to be compliant. Well, he drilled it into us that this is important. And I thank him. It's like having that teacher that you had when you were a kid that was the hardest teacher, and you hated it. But when you got out of class, you're like, man, I learned so much from that person. I'm so thankful for that person.
Right.
So what he taught us was the written word is forever. You put it in writing, and it's forever.
Mm-hmm.
So not that you're going to say something inappropriate, illegal, or misrepresentation, but if it's misinterpreted, lost in translation, it's in written word forever. And so subconsciously or consciously, I would rather pick up the phone and have a conversation. Now, when it comes time to put words in a document that have long-standing meaning, when you get to a point where you're going to put a contract together, and you're going to have terms of agreement that the buyer agrees to, and the provider agrees to, that you're going to do your part, he's going to do his part, then You want it in writing. You want it so those terms are longstanding, viable, and they have teeth. But you don't publish every draft. You know, if you're in a contract situation and you're developing the contract and each one of them has a little screen back word draft on it, it makes no sense to keep publishing draft versions of the contract, of the final agreement, and have all those out there to be misinterpreted or misrepresented. So I know I'm getting kind of big picture here, but that's the mindset that I bring to the table. Is I would rather pick up the phone and say, listen, I know you just text me. I know it's important, but let me get a great understanding of what your question is. I'm not fully understanding this text. I'm afraid I'm going to lose something in translation. I just want to nail down what exactly are you asking me to do? I know I'm taking time out of your day. I know you like to text, but what is it exactly you want me to do? Or what is your expectation? And then I get that verbal that I need to process it. I hope that person, you know, probably says, I don't know, why can't Dave just text me back? Well, I hope they get a sense of understanding that I'm working on their behalf to make sure that I meet or exceed their expectation by clarifying, to make sure that the message is clear and clarified by both parties. And ultimately what happens is there's always something that comes up. You know, when you text something, you're always like, oh, I should have said this, you know, after you've already sent it. And so it gives the customer the opportunity to vet out or suss out some more stuff they weren't thinking about and clarify. It gives me the opportunity to fully understand what their expectations were, at least in that time capsule. And I better start writing stuff down, you know, on my side. When they're saying stuff to me, I better make a note so I have it. But that's Dave Theus, this old dog. I don't like the texting. I would rather have something verbal from a compliance standpoint, as well as the full understanding, not lost in translation. Now, to your question, I think it's generational. I think you have to find the vehicle that you enjoy most, that you feel most comfortable in. And then my recommendation would be consistent. And whatever that is, if email, you know, everyone thinks that, whomever thinks that email is antiquated and old, hey, this is how I operate. And you can blame it on the compliance. You know what, Mr. Customer, I want to have a document that spells out what I'm going to do, and that you can see it and understand it, and then you can feedback. We can have a paper trail. My wife works in that world where she needs a paper trail. And so if you've ever been an accountant before, we call that backup. I want to be able to have the cover, the invoice and the purchase order, and then stapled behind that, all the conversations and communications that we had in the past. Now that's old school. Well, you're a dinosaur, but you know what? When you need it and you ain't got the backup, yeah, but I'm standing there with my backup of written documents. Yeah, let's see. No, you said this on this date. No, you said this on this date. It's not a catch-all to catch somebody for doing something wrong. It's that element of capturing the transaction to make sure that you are meeting and exceeding your customer's expectations, because you need some facts. So if it's email you're comfortable with, then be consistent and tell your customer, listen, I get it. There's newfangled stuff going on, but I will communicate with you via email. Train your customer. If it's messenger, I really don't like the messenger piece. And I've made it very clear to my people, look, we're not going to conduct business this way, because not only you and I are going to lose translation, but I don't know who else is watching this conversation, quite frankly. You know, they changed the name of the company to Meta. Metadata. I mean, if you don't know what that means, someone else is watching what you're talking about. And hell, they're watching everything. You're going, oh, Dave, they're tuned into your emails too. Probably so. But I don't want Mr. Zuckerberg or anybody, his cohorts, in my messenger feed. So I let people know, hey, this isn't going to happen. You can send me a, hey, pretty shirt, Dave, or nice job, but we're not going to conduct business in Messenger. So sorry. The texting piece, I train my customers. I tell them, look, it's a quick fix. If you need to get a hold of me, text me and say, hey, have you got a minute? I can text you back and say, can I call you back in 15? It's that kind of tool that I use it for. When I get a text that's an acre and a half long, you know, I'm like, why couldn't you just pick up the damn phone? You know, how hard it took you however long to get arthritic thumbs from this thing. Why didn't you just pick up the phone and talk to me? But they're probably sitting at their kid's soccer game, or they're sitting in church, God forbid, or wherever they are on the toilet, you know, and they had a streaming thought and they didn't want to call me. I get it, but I'm not going to conduct business that way. And so it always goes back to that. I'm training my customers to be more efficient use of my time and ultimately their time. It's a hard thing to get across because everyone thinks, no, it's my time. It should be based on what I want. Well, it is, but for me as an expert to give you the best use of my time, you got to come my way. That's just the way it is. That's where the resources are. That's where, you know, I can be in a situation where I can get to things if I need to, because you're asking me for advice. So I want to be in my library, not yours. And then as far as Snapchat, I don't know what the hell it is. I mean, I do. No.
Let's say no.
You know, my daughter, I have a 20-year-old. No, I'm just not doing that. Sorry. And if it takes me out of the business, no. I don't even know if I don't even have the app. Do you have the app on your phone?
Yeah, I do.
Well,
and I've opened it, you know, once or twice, and I look at it and think, well, no, I'll have to take a college course to figure this out. So let's not.
Well, and I don't ever want to say to either one of us or anyone that might be listening that it's okay to be so old and stodgy that we can't learn new things. No, right. Education is a lifelong journey. And I would be remiss if I said otherwise. I think it's important for each one of us to have open eyes and ears to be able to learn and take on new topics and new discussions and new technology. Otherwise, we just go ahead and start digging the hole now. But there's a demographic factor that goes into this as well. Obviously, generational, that's what I'm talking about. And who is your customer? You know, is your customer a Snapchat person? I mean, have you gotten business that way?
Well, I haven't. So I see where you're going with this. And that makes a lot of sense. But now compare that to what you said about training your customer. So do we accommodate the customer that uses Snapchat and then we learn Snapchat?
I'm not sure I understand your question, but say it again. Rephrase your question.
Okay, so I'm liking the concept of training your customer. Okay, I like that. I'm going to start using that. So with that, then if the customer uses Snapchat and that's not something that we would want to use, what do? We try to convince them to use text or email or something like that, or do we accommodate this customer using Snapchat by learning it?
Okay. It comes down to evaluation of who this customer is. I don't want to be crass, but the last thing I want to be is a whore to any potential customer that comes along. You know, I gotta do this so I can get this job. No, they'll find somebody else. More than not, the word no, as a small business owner, can be your best friend. It's hard to comprehend that. Hey, I'm looking for new business. And for me to say no to somebody, that's just counterintuitive. I mean, you can't say no to someone. That doesn't make any sense. But I've learned the hard way that I should have fired that person or never hired that person way back when. And so if we, at the end, you got to put your head on your pillow at the end of the day and go to sleep and sleep comfortably, knowing that you can handle this stuff. And there's plenty of, you know, it's like, remember when we used to date, there's plenty of fish in the sea. There's going to be another one swimming by any minute now. It might even be a big fat tuna versus a small little trout. So So I just
can only hope.
Well, it will. It will. I can give you, I feel very confident in that. So I guess what I would say in that situation is, you know, Karen, whoever it is that's using the Snapchat, Bob, whatever it is. What's the male version of Karen? Is it Darren? That'd be cool if it was. But we'll say Karen because it's fun. I get it. Snapchat's cool and all, but that's not how I communicate my business. I use email for official business. I use email because I want to make sure that you have full understanding of my intentions. It's in writing. There's a paper trail. And if you have a discrepancy that you want to address, just CC, copy me and reply. And then it creates a paper trail. Then we can, both of us can have a nice documented transaction between the two of us. And there should be some better understanding. Oh, by the way, Karen, if you don't feel comfortable with using email in the official transaction of business, and you would prefer to use Snapchat, nice meeting you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, it's that 3s, 5s, and 7s. Remember that conversation we had with
Yes.
Carrie one time? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
shit, how many can you do? 11,
Mm-hmm.
13? What's the next thing that's going to come down the pipe? It's not about appeasing our customers. It's about serving our customers.
Okay.
It's not about being Baskin Robbins 31 flavors of the month. It's about being really good at vanilla, you know, or being really good at strawberry. So good that there's no one else they want to go to for that ice cream. What's the old saying? The jack of all trades is good at nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard. That is the dynamic that makes it so difficult as a small business owner, because every opportunity is an opportunity, and you can't let, you know, you can't let them go by. You got to get them all. But if you take the shotgun approach, and you're just going to waste a lot of fodder, you're going to waste a lot of shells, lead, when you could be precision, use a scalpel or an arrow. I like to use arrows out of my quiver and shoot the target and hit the target. So yeah, I think it's generational. To recap, it's definitely generational. It's who is the age bracket that you're dealing with, and we can't be so staunch and dogged that we can't learn new things. That's not good. We can't be that old dog that is not willing to learn new things. But we've also got to use discernment and wisdom and evaluate the best opportunity to transact business. You know, communicating is one thing, but to actually transact business in a way that meets and or exceeds our expectations, there's got to be some level of, this is what we're going to do. And train your customers. One last piece of this, because I want to get to how much time we got. Oh, we're going to have a commercial in the middle of this episode, because then once you get to 45 minutes, it drops another commercial in it, which is pretty cool. Once you get to the point where you understand the training of your customer piece, it gets easier. It just speaks to your level of professionalism. I want to be careful and make sure that people that are listening don't think that I could give a darn about my customers. No, that in fact, by training my customers, I'm putting them first. Because if you're the expertise in what you do, if you're the reason they're coming to you, then ultimately you want to be giving them the best of you. And when you're tattered and spread out all over the place, trying to chase down these flavors of the month, then you're not giving them your best. And so it is a learning curve for them to understand. I think you can have that conversation. I've had it plenty of times. Look, I can sit around and learn every newfangled dangled communication tool that comes down the pipe, but I'm not serving you at that point. I'm spending more time trying to figure out this app and how to use it than I am going to work for you. So I'm not going to, waste your day, but I'm going to communicate. We need to communicate business-wise in a way that most makes sense for me and for you ultimately. Someone else may say, "Oh, that's crazy, Dave. You've got to be on the cutting edge and you got to, you know, do all these fangled things. No, well, maybe I won't be the richest man in the world. All right. Does that help?
Great information. Great information. Yeah, I use email for the most part, and then text I try to use when I need to notify somebody to please check their email right away.
Yeah, the texting for me is a conversation. It's a brief conversation, kind of maybe a reminder, and hey, give me a call. I got a question about your email. Or hey, give me a call. I'm trying to book a lunch date. You know, I've tried to type in, like, I'll call someone, get their voicemail. I don't use voicemail anymore because now I know that people don't check their voicemail. I don't. I got this thing that says you got a voicemail. I'm like, crap. And I don't listen to them, which is sinful, I guess. I mean, it's just where we are. And so as soon as it goes to voicemail, that either means they're dodging my call or they're on the phone with somebody else. That's fine. Not many people dodge my call anymore. So they're on the phone with someone else. So then I'll hang up with them and start to text. And as soon as I start to text, they call me.
Right.
God, it just drives me crazy. I'm like, you couldn't, but that's a whole nother episode. I've learned that the hard way with my spouse. Sometimes you have to let things go to voicemail. Okay, I did want to talk about one more thing, but I don't know. We didn't get started right at 9 o'clock. It's 9:45. What are the odds that we go a little bit long? You think it's okay? Are you okay?
I'm okay, sure.
Okay. I would like to introduce, I think we're very conversational, first of all. And the feedback I keep getting from people, the two people besides us that are listening to these episodes, that's self-deprecating humor, by the way, is that the conversation element of us is beneficial. And quite frankly, I do better in that space. I don't, nothing is scripted with me. And we discussed that before,
right.
Other than my intro, trying to get the words out that we need to talk about. And so I'm a storyteller by nature. I'm sorry. And I just feel better and more comfortable. But something came up this morning before the show started. And we were talking about marketing versus business development. And for those of you that don't know, I ran for Congress a couple years ago in 2020, and I saw a piece of that. That's another episode, by the way, but I saw something that I took away from that race. I saw an element of marketing. Now, I know what marketing is, and I've been in business long enough, and I took marketing research classes in college and all that sort of stuff. But I've always thought of myself as a business development person. And there's marketing that's a piece of that, clearly. But marketing, I've discovered, has its whole own realm to it. And I guess what I want to ask you, to put it back on you so I'm not talking the whole time, is do you know where I'm going as far as the story, the pushing the message, marketing, or business developing, sitting across the table from someone and working the business? How have you, as a small business owner, a person that wears multiple hats, how do you juggle that element? And then we'll back and forth. Have you discovered that as an issue?
Well, yeah. And, you know, it has to be done. For me, it has to be very methodical. And I have to compartmentalize in my brain what I'm going to be working on. And then I have to completely put aside, if I'm working on business development, that entails X, Y, and Z. And then marketing might be part of business development, but that's also a huge project to work on. So these all have to be separated in my mind, mentally, and I have to completely clear my head of all the others and only work on one at a time. Yeah, so it's certainly a consideration.
So you compartmentalize the two elements of the business, of the business process, excuse me.
Right.
And I would say that's a natural response, because oddly enough, they are uniquely different, although they swim in the same pool, so to speak, or they do dovetail. I love that that's a saying I like to use a lot lately. They're of the same family. But what I've learned is, and from the campaign trail that I was involved in, we were talking about this in the pre-show, that you'd go to an event and you and your fellow candidates would be there. And then that person would get up and speak, and you know exactly after about 15 of these speeches what he or she's going to say. I mean, it's just like, oh, and then you're kind of behind the scenes mouthing, oh, and you know, this, and it gets so repetitive in your head because you've heard it 15,000 times. It's like, this is useless. I mean, this is horrible. How can anyone be buying this diatribe? It's just the same crap over and over and over again. Well, it is, but they're different ears. And in theory, you're reaching a new audience every time you do it. And so that's marketing. How am I getting my message to new audiences? That's the marketing piece that I'm learning that I need to do a better job of. I tend to surround myself with a core group of people. And if you see pictures of our organization from Promote Clay and Northeast Florida Business Alliance, as we get moving forward, you start to see some of the same faces over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. And I like that. There's nothing wrong with that for me. But what I am realizing in this role that I'm playing now is that my clients that come to us in our organization need new butts in the seats. They need new faces so they can talk to. Now, we're not a quote unquote networking group by definition. I believe that the relationships that we build with one another are the genesis for spawning new business. That, you know, 200 people, I know 200 people. There's 400 people in the room right now. And then by you trusting me and developing empathy, we're going to be willing to share some of that information with our friends. That's kind of a 5,000 foot level nutshell. But the marketing element has got to be, I think, not compartmentalized. It's got to become a part of the message when we're business developing as well. And it's somewhat of a hurdle for me because I feel like I'm a better business developer than I am a marketer. And so in that space that we operate as small business owners, where we're wearing those multiple hats, I'm going to challenge me as much as I'm challenging you. I'm not picking on you by no means. It's a challenge for me to incorporate this as well. I'm going to challenge both of us and those of you that might be listening and watching, that we've got to get better at incorporating the whole package into every opportunity that we're with someone. And so it's real important to meet a new prospect and share with them our marketing message. This is what we do. This is what we're about. Because what we're trying to do is teach new contacts enough about us that they can go out and talk about us when we leave. There's a great book. It's called Spin Selling that I've talked about before, that I picked up. I used to work for Herman Miller, a Fortune 100 company, Herman Miller out of Zeeland, Michigan. And they spent gobs of money on us, my sister and I, to go to these sales things. And spin selling was about selling to a committee or to a group. You don't sell $4 million of furniture to one guy, one decision maker. You sell it to a panel of purchasing agents, directors, and all kinds of stuff. They all make decisions so that nobody can blame each other for making the bad decision. And so the spin selling concept says I have to give enough information to each person I speak to so that when I leave the room, they can take morsels of that message and share it with somebody else. You know, hey, I met this guy Dave today. He's got this great organization, Northeast Florida Business Alliance, and this is what they're doing. Sounds kind of cool. What do you think about it? Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Or that does sound cool. They don't have to be experts on our behalf, but they have to have enough information to not only be sold themselves, to be convinced themselves of what we're doing, but they can go out and share with a counterpart, colleague, or friend a morsel enough to at least bait the hook. And so when I compartmentalize, and this is again, me looking in the mirror, when I compartmentalize, I find myself only marketing today. And I'm missing the opportunity to develop business. And when I'm developing business, I miss the opportunity to market. It's kind of like that referral language, you know, when we're so focused on getting the sale, getting the guy to write the $25,000 check and close the case, and I forget to ask for the referral, then all I've done is business develop and close that case. I haven't created a generational leap for him to go outside the circle and go talk to somebody else about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So it should be natural for those two to come together. When you're developing business, it should be natural to start to be marketing at the same time, and vice versa, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's why, for me, that's why the storytelling piece of it is so good. I think this is my argument against the elevator speech. All of us, well, you got to have an elevator speech. Well, an elevator speech is less than a minute of a conversation that is really, some people, it's just horrible, but it's a brain dump is what it is. And so they dump this marketing campaign on you in 45 seconds in the hopes that you won't get out of the elevator before the door opens up. I've got you captured. That's where the elevator speech comes from. It's a brain dump. And so I never got a chance to develop business in that conversation. I never got a chance really to give a solid message. It was just a brain dump. And so I think a story, and this is where I feel like I do best, the storytelling element can weave a tapestry of business development and marketing together. Oh, when you're having that conversation with someone about how I can serve them and fulfill their needs, that's the business development piece. And oh, by the way, this is what we do. Not only am I going to help you today solve your problem, but I'm helping other customers do this sort of thing and these types of elements. That's marketing. And so he or she is getting the need they need taken care of today. And they're realizing, wait a minute, this guy, not only is he taking care of me, but he could be taking care of my friends too. And what a great opportunity that would be to use his goodwill and garner some of my own goodwill with my friends, because this guy's really, he's hung the moon for me. I can tell that story. And here's a little bit about what he does. So I hope that makes sense. I mean, I struggle with it too. There is a natural tendency to say, well, we're marketing today. I'm going to spend all day marketing, telling my story. Right. I think it's half the story. I think it leaves so much. One conversation could be, I don't know what the percentage is. I hope I'm making sense. I don't know if it's 50-50. It could be 25-75 that day, whatever it is. I just think we're remiss, or we're missing the boat if we totally compartmentalize. We've got to fashion it in a way to bring the two together. And so the takeaway from the campaign trail, you got to see a lot of marketing, and it was compartmentalized, because every time you go to a new speech, it was that pitch. And so it forced me to incorporate that pitch, and I hate that word, but that pitch into my dialogue. But what I still believe at the root of this, whether it's a campaign, or business entity, whatever it is, people have got to understand that you're there to solve their needs and concerns. And the way that you're going to solve their needs and concerns is you're going to listen to them first. You're going to ask good, intentional questions that draw out those needs and concerns from them. They may not be thinking of them right off the bat, but good, thoughtful, intentional questions that bring those out. Then provide solutions, or talk about the solutions that you can provide. And oh, by the way, these are the things we're doing in the marketplace to help you and other companies marketing. I think we've, as small business owners, the ones who are terribly successful have mastered that, because every person they speak to now becomes a candidate for business and a spokesperson for their firm. When they leave the meeting, they've been equipped with enough information to go out and speak to 2, 3, 4 other people on your behalf. And that's that leverage point that we're missing by best use of our time. And I'm in the mirror every day thinking the same thing. I'm like, Dave, you've got to do that. It's less challenging for me now that I think I've identified it, but it's got to be something for our best use of time we got to do. So I encourage all of us to consider that. All right. That's all I had.
Okay. Very enlightening, David. Thank you.
Any other closing thoughts? We'll wrap up here. I think we should probably look at that.
That's it. I say that was enlightening. So and the emails.
Well, hopefully not like a thunderstorm and a low pressure system lightning, but I know what you mean.
And lightning. Okay.
All right. Well, I'm glad to have you back this episode. I missed you last week. We got it done without you. Thankfully, I survived. But I enjoy this time we have together. It's always nice to have that time. And I want to open this up as we move forward June 1 with Northeast Florida Business Alliance. This is a tool. We'll do some marketing now. This is a tool that we're offering at no additional charge to our members. If they want to come on, sacrifice an hour of time on Saturday morning and have this type of dialogue, solve some of their problems, suss out some information from me and from others in the room. It's not just a two-party show. It can be open to one of the benefits of our members. And those of you that might be listening, it's $180, $180 for the year to join up with Northeast Florida Business Alliance. And we'll talk about some of those elements down the road, how to do that. But I just want you to know there is a financial commitment. It's not a lot, $15 a month, 50 cents a day is what that works out to. And I think the basket of benefits will far outweigh the initial investment on your part from all things considered. So my name again is David Theus. My friendly host today is Peggy Lynch with 21K Promotions. I'll be sure to put her website link and her email address in the show notes below. And you're listening to the Saturday morning coaching call brought to you by the Small Business Patriot. It's one more benefit you get when you become a member with us. You get a 52-week newsletter called the Small Business Patriot, jam-packed full of information for small business owners. And we'll talk about, as we do some more marketing dovetailed into this conversation, we'll talk about some more of those benefits each episode as we move forward, in the hopes that someone makes it this far in the show. Anyway, if you're listening to us on Spotify, please like and share this with a friend, coworker, or fellow small business owner. And if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. And please subscribe and share and give us a thumbs up if you think this was good information for yourself or someone you might know. And in the meantime, have a great rest of your weekend, Peggy, and be prosperous and stay vigilant. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.